Violations of conduct will not be tolerated.
Hey, what is going on, everybody, and welcome to Fantasia. For today, we're going to be jumping into another session of Epic 7 Now today. Got some more first impressions for you guys. This time around, we're going to be taking a look at Disciplinary Prefect Aria, and boy oh boy did I not expect ML Aria to be part of this multiverse here of the kind of schoolgirl saga that's been going on with the Moonlight side stories. But yeah, I actually really dig this design of her outfit and everything. Not a huge fan of her, let's say, two fists. But yeah, she actually has a really amazing kit as well. So yeah, her sprite actually looks really, really cool. So yeah, anyway, let's go ahead and jump into the stat line here, because Aria actually has resemblance to quite a few characters you might be familiar with. She is a dark warrior of the Capricorn star sign, and that does mean that she has some pretty decent stats. She actually doesn't awaken to crit chance or crit damage, as you see here, but she has some decent bulk, lower base speed, but also not terrible attack stat. She will team imprint for effect resistance, and she self-imprints into health, but that team imprint is actually going to come in handy. We're going to talk about that very, very shortly here. But in terms of units that you might be familiar with in terms of Aria's stats, well, the first one is Ravi. Yeah, Ravi is actually of the Capricorn star sign here. We can take out the, extra 14% attack from her EE, because Aria doesn't have one. You can probably take away some of this concentration here, so see a bit more accurate representation of the stats. There you go. So something like this without the EE and the self-imprint. Obviously you'll be building her slightly differently than you would a Ravi, but yeah, not too shabby, right? So the next thing we're going to take a look at is Shu, because I believe Shu is also a Capricorn warrior here. A bit harder to build. She needs crit rate, but Aria doesn't, which is nice, so you can ignore this imprint stuff here. So you can just kind of give you the idea of, the stat lines that you can go for if you've ever used Ravi or Shu, or even things like, well, Dark Corvus is actually of a Capricorn star sign. You could build Dark Corvus really tanky, 32k HP and stuff, showing you kind of like the upper limits of what you can reach. Same thing with Mediator Cowric. He's actually also a Capricorn star sign here. So if you have a Cowric that you use as a support unit and not a DPS one like mine, you can see that he reaches up to like 240, 250 speed pretty decently while keeping a lot of bulk. You can also have some damage on him as well, right, if you're running him on speed sets and such. But yeah, those are like the more common Capricorn warriors. The last one I'm gonna mention here, just because some of you guys might use him in PvE, is Ken. So yeah, Fire Ken, also of the Capricorn star sign here. Not too shabby. Obviously, these units not very comparable, just because they lack, well, they need the crit rate, whereas Fire Ravi doesn't, and neither does Aria. So let's go ahead and hop back over to the Aria and see what she has in terms of her kit. So let's start with her skill 2, which is a passive. It's Unwavering Execution. She increases soul burn consumption of the enemy by 100%. That's already a lot. Alright, at the start of the first battle, increases effect resistance proportional to max health. When the caster is not inflicted with a debuff, increases effect resistance of all allies by up to, I believe that's what? That's adding 5, 10, 15, that's 40% extra effect resistance to everybody. That is a lot, actually. That is like Maid Chloe's passive of 20% plus Shimadra's staff 20%. That's like having a Maid plus Shimadra on your team, but this is already just built into her kit, right? This is kind of nutty, honestly. And we'll talk about some artifacts and such that she can use too. So yeah, just the fact that she increases soul burn consumption, she doubles the soul burn requirement of your opponents, is kind of terrifying. Like, there's Bellion that just prevents you from doing it, but now you can drive Bellion and Aria together, and you can legitimately just shut down so many teams that require soul burns to deal damage, which is kind of cool. Finally, more of an anti-cleave type unit coming out here, which is not bad. But yeah, doubling souls, 40 souls to soul burn to get ML Luna to seal everyone's passives. Yikes. right? That's a very big yikes. So yeah, you're probably not going to be soul burning much into Aria, unless you have those units that can soul burn for free, like Summertime Assyria or, what's her face, Spirit Eye Celine, right, for example. Skill 3, Purge. You attack the enemy with a merciless Iron Fist, granting a barrier to all allies for 2 turns, before increasing defense penetration of the skill by 35%. Penetration increase can stack up to 2 times. A successful attack always results in a critical hit. Damage dealt and barrier strength increase proportional to the caster's max health. So you they're definitely telling you straight out the gate you want to build Aria with HP, right? She's gaining damage off of her HP, she's gaining effect res for herself off of HP, and this S3, the more you use it, the stronger it gets, right? So the first hit is not going to penetrate defense. The second hit, right? So so you attack before increasing defense penetration by 35%. So next time you hit with your second S3, 35% damage defense penetration, and then you'll raise it up again 35%. That's the max you can go. So the third time you use your S3, the penetration will be at maximum, which is going to be 70%. So if you're fighting an Aria, you definitely don't want the battle to drag on, but you're probably drafting Aria into a slower fight, or if your opponent's tanking down, you're kind of tanking down. This is kind of a bruiser v bruiser clash, right? You can definitely be using her as like an anti-cleave unit, like I mentioned earlier, with like Bellion and such, unless your opponent pre-bans both of those, in which case then you have a couple of other anti-cleave options available to you that they have not banned, such as Harseti, Zio, and such, right? So it's kind of cool. Anyway, her soul burn here, because she can use it, it only consumes 10 souls, increases damage dealt and decreases skill cooldown by 1 turn. So yeah, you're probably going to be using this soul burn. It's only 10 souls, and it increases damage and gives you a -1 cooldown. That's kind of nutty, especially because this thing is already going to be on a 3-turn cooldown, because if you Mola this, it's going to be -1, right? So on 3-turn cooldown, yeah, you're going to be getting this like pretty much like every 2 turns. It's going to be insane. You can stack this up pretty quickly. If you don't have souls though, she's going to stack up much slower, so definitely want to save up some souls for her here if she is going to be part of your damage dealing crew. So the other thing to note is that you do want to build her with crit damage. Every successful attack results in a critical hit, just like Fire Ravi. So yeah, you want crit damage but no crit rate, which is not bad because she doesn't awaken into crit rate. 15 base crit is super hard to build up to 100%, right? So yeah, that's the punch that we see here. She's punching she's punching Zema Luna. And look, 23k damage, that's actually not bad. Pretty decent, right? I don't know what stack she is on in terms of that. Was that her first S3, her second, or her third? But yeah, still not bad. 23k damage is pretty good. Skill 1, Disciplinary Warning, attacks the enemy, increases combat readiness of the caster by 15%. When Purge is on cooldown, activates Disciplinary Action as an extra attack. Damage dealt increases proportional to the caster's max health. So, when Purge is on cooldown, that means when you have already used your S3, then you get to use this extra attack on your S1, which is kind of nice. The Discipline Action attack, the follow-up, attacks the enemy, inflicting up to 10% injuries. A successful attack always results in a critical hit. Damage dealt increases proportional to the caster's max health. So an interesting thing to actually keep in mind here is that the original skill 1, just attacking the enemy, increasing combat readiness by 15%, this does not guarantee crits, but when Purge is on cooldown, this follow-up attack, this extra attack, actually does always result in a critical hit. So it's a little bit weird. You won't crit on the first hit, but you will crit on the second. Can actually come in handy sometimes against those units, like, let's say, Spirit Eye Celine. So whenever you crit Spirit Eye Celine, she's going to counterattack you and hit you back pretty hard. But if your first hit doesn't, and then your second one, the extra attack does, Celine and those types of units like MLK and such that counter off of like crits and stuff, it doesn't proc off of extra attacks. So just a cool little interaction to keep in mind here, right? It's not too shabby. But yeah, not bad. All of this stuff is HP scaling, so you definitely want to build her with a ton of health and some effect res and effect resistance. It seems to be what you want. Okay, we'll talk about what potential sets and stuff to run on her in a bit, but would really like to see how this plays out here in terms of this combat demo. So I just want to see how, like, when that ML Luna got hit by that S3 especially, what stack she was on there. So we see the opponents are going for some shenanigans here with the debuffs, and everyone on this team full resisted. Look at that. So yeah, Destina, typically a very high resist unit. Crimson Armin has good team imprint effect resist. Aria has that team imprint for effect resist. DDR here, you can build him with effect resistance. I think most people still decide to go for effectiveness on him, which is a bit more, well, effective at doing his job of controlling the opponents. But we see here that the Aria, okay, she's gonna be coming in here. Let's see what this Soulburn S3 is gonna do. Okay, I see. So the Luna wasn't the first one to go down, it was the Roz. So we'll see the damage here. What was that? Oh, 12k? Just shy of 12k damage. Yeah, okay, 12k damage, and that's with a Soulburn. So her S3 isn't really hitting that hard. This is without defense penetration, by the way, right? And Roz, you know, pretty tanky, pretty high defense knight here. So a little under 12k damage. We're not going to factor in the venom damage there because that does not matter at all. Let's go ahead and take a look at the next skill for the Aria. Oh, that invincibility from Crimson Armin actually not that bad. Okay, so we're going to see here. Oh, she's actually on a counter set. She has ones. Okay, she's gonna come in. The follow-up attack. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, hang on just a second here. Oh, wait just a second here, guys. That's actually quite important. It's a good thing I saw the preview. That extra attack doesn't have to be from your turn. As long as your skill 3 is on cooldown, if you counter and you hit, you're gonna have that extra attack come in. That makes a huge difference now. I think counter set is probably gonna be her best in slot. Yeah. Yes, indeed. Okay. So let's see if we counter again. No counter there. That's fine. She's also quite tanky. We can see that. Not terrible. Pretty bulky. Wonder what her HP is here. Oh, 28k health. All right. And this is what her second S3. So she's coming in. This is with 35% defense penetration here. And that's where we see the 23k damage, so that's not bad in terms of ramping up and scaling. Let's see if she actually manages. She's the solo DPS here in this case. Let's see if she actually gets another S3 off. She does. Let's see how much this third S3 does. I'm quite curious. Hellion Lua not built with too much defense usually, but even then, 70% defense penetration. Now we're seeing up to 31k damage. Now, obviously, it's not consistent. You're not hitting the same unit, over and over again. But getting from 12k to 23k to 31k, that's not bad. But yeah, there you go. Aria seems like she can actually be really good on a counter set. Let's go ahead and take a look at, well, what to potentially run on her. So we're going to be using Fire Ravi since I already unequipped all the extra things from her here. So we're going to use Fire Ravi as an example. Now, let's go in here and take a look at what optimal sets I think you should be running on her. Definitely counter set. Let's put that out there right now. Counter set, because that S1, when you counter, can go into a follow-up attack. Not only are you gaining combat readiness a turn cycle with this, but you're also doing extra damage with that extra attack, inflicting injuries as well. I think counter set's the way to go. Now, the second option that you have for like the 2 set pieces, you can obviously go for HP and defense. Those are great, especially if you have good substats on them. You just want to make her a little bit more bulky. HP set, probably more ideal over defense set because she's not a defense scaler. Resist set, definitely solid as well. But keep in mind, the more HP you build, the more resist she's going to get. Don't know the scaling yet of how much resist she would get from the HP. Right, just kind of like how Ravi gains attack based on her HP stat, it's the same thing, right? They just reversed it with Aria. Instead of gaining attack, you're gaining effect resistance. So yeah, that's kind of cool. She's a tanky unit, but she's also gonna deal damage, which is very cool to see. So yeah, these 3 sets are probably her go-to. You don't need crit or anything like that. You don't need hit set or anything either. So you could also go for a penetration set, right? If you want to hit harder with that S1 and follow up, because both of those are single target attacks. It'll help a little bit with the S3 damage as well. You're gonna lose a little bit, it's just diminishing returns by stacking penetration with a skill that already penetrates defense, but it can help squeeze out some damage. She doesn't really have any AoEs or anything, so probably not Torrent, and this also decreases your max health. So I'd say maybe shy away from that. You could potentially do it. I know some friends who have insane Torrent gear, so you can definitely still use it for extra damage, especially if you feel like the penetration is not doing enough for her S3 damage. I think though, honestly, stick with the bulk. Resist and HP set with counter set is probably the way to go. With how much resist you have, I don't think you go for immunity set. I don't think there's really a need to go for that, but yeah. Not bad at all, right? I think this is the way to go with her. So when it comes to building her, you definitely don't need speed, okay? So I'm gonna try to go for something like a counter HP resist, something like this, right? So we'll probably try to go for, I mean, this is, honestly looking at this is not terrible already, but you do want resistance. So we're gonna try to go for some sort of effect, ooh, actually, that's not bad. Yeah, but the main issue is you need crit damage too, right? So you definitely don't want to shy out on the crit damage. So she's actually going to be a little bit more difficult to build in my opinion, because with resist and crit damage, you're going to need some pretty weird pieces. You probably don't want any speed on her either is the thing. So I don't even know if I have the gear for it, honestly. You'd have to mod out, you could mod out the attack here. You could mod out the attack here. That's actually not a horrible piece, honestly, to put on her. A lot of these units that have like crit damage and resistance also have crit rate, but yeah, we'll try that weapon, I guess. We'll see if we have anything else here. I would really like some more counter pieces. Ooh, not bad. You definitely want HP as well, right? Definitely want HP. Okay, this is going to be a little bit tricky. See, I'm showing this to you guys in real time just so you see that, hey, this is not necessarily the easiest unit to be building here. Effect, yeah, I guess we'll go for this. Right, crit damage, health, effect res. We can mod the HP or the flat attack for like defense or something. Could potentially work. I think that is not bad. You could probably mod this for like effect res or something like that over there. We'll keep that chest piece. Yeah, we just need a lot more resistance. Ooh, hang on, do we want to go for an HP main stat? Or do you want to go for a crit damage main stat? Yikes. Let's see if crit damage yields any results here. Maybe we want to go for effect res. I'm not actually sure. Whoa, hang on. Hang on here, we got something. Oh wait, it has so much crit rate. Ooh, what a good piece though. Oh, it has so much wasted crit rate in there. That feels bad. I'll throw that in here for now. Let's see. For the main stat here, let's go effect res. Or no, we should go with HP, right? See what the conversion is. So we currently have counter. We need more resist set. I don't know if that's, you don't want speed necessarily. You do want crit damage, you don't want speed. Oh no, I don't think I really have much. I don't have much to offer here. Yeah, I don't really have much to offer here, so we'll just go with, we'll say you can mod the flat health here for like crit damage. That might not be bad. And then we'll go for, what is this? 1, 2, 3, 4. We need a resist set. Oh, we don't have any resist set. Alright, yeah, see, this is the hard part here. You're gonna need a resist piece that's not speed. Oh yeah, we don't have anything. So maybe if I go counter. If I go counter, there is, yeah, no real good counter pieces either. Uh-oh. I think we might be in a little bit of trouble. So, we'll say you throw something like this on. Yeah, that's going to be tricky to build. Definitely going to need more resistance. I think if I reforged everything and kind of modded out some stats, we can easily hit 100 resist here, but that's not enough HP or anything like that. So she's going to require very specialized stats. As you can see, I don't have the pieces at all. If I go for recommended equipment, let's see if I can maybe do something like this. Maybe some high stuff here. Let's go for counter set and let's do resist, or let's just leave it open. Let's leave that open. Include equipped stuff. Let's see, confirm. Oh, see, we're missing crit damage. So yeah, it's easy to build resistant bulk and stuff, but to get crit damage, I'm gonna need a bit. Maybe if I lower the defense there. Okay, I mean, that's something, I guess, but still too much crit rate and stuff. We still have to mod out some stats. Yeah, it can definitely be achievable, I'd say, but definitely needs more specialized gear. So, with that said, though, when it comes to potential teammates, guys, if you're running her on a counter set, you actually probably don't want to be running her with things like Bossa Runka, because Bossa Runka doesn't allow anyone else to be hit except her, so probably not her, but anybody else, honestly, can be run on a team. Any unit with high resist can be pretty good if you want to keep her alive longer. Empyrean Ilanov, fantastic unit to be using because she has an Indomitable buff on her S3, which increases your defense for survivability, but also increases your effect resistance by up to 30%, so that's nice. And also, any unit like, for example, giving passive effect resistance, Maid Chloe, is not bad. Her passive here increases effect resistance of all allies by 20%, so you actually don't have to build your maid with a ton of effect resistance. You can build her with actually less and a bit more bulk. She can work pretty well here, and she has an imprint release, right, of effect res too, so that can also be really nice for helping the team. Crimson Armin was shown in the video, so you can definitely use her as mitigation, but she also has a team effect res imprint, so anyone with a team effect res imprint also really nice. You'll notice that Empyrean Ilanov also has a team effect res imprint, so pretty good there. I should probably switch her over to her own though. Yeah, and then obviously high effect res soul weavers such as Destina can work out, right? You can use her with things like Ruel as well, right? Using her with a Ruel so that you don't have to have as much effect of resistance. You can build a bit more bulk for survivability. That could potentially work out. And obviously cleansers and such, like if you build DJB post buff, he could be pretty good as well there without needing as much investment. Also, units that typically are built with effect res, for example like Aria, I tend to build with a lot of effect res. Any units that are high effect res, you can definitely just slap on the same team with her and they'll benefit immensely. Keep in mind when it comes to artifacts, actually, that you can actually have quite a few options with her. Because she's a warrior, there's actually a budget option in terms of an artifact, Strat Gauntlet. You can increase your effect res by 60% when you're 50% health or more, and if your health is less, the effect is halved, right? So it's a free 60% effect resistance. Now, if you are just wanting to get a straight upgrade to that, you can just put on Bastion of Hope. So increases the effect res of everyone by 20%. So with Aria's passive, that's a 60% increase to everyone on the team, and she also gets an additional 50% effect resistance. Now, this will decrease every time she's hit, but it'll only go down to like a 35%. That's not bad, right? Still, that's an extra 55% effect res on herself. That is pretty good. So yeah, this will be 70% along with Maid Chloe's passive Shamadra staff. That's another 40%. So that's already 110% more effect res. You can stack effect res super fast and super high with her on the team. So pretty solid stuff, honestly. Warriors have traditionally pretty good access to artifacts and such too, so I would definitely recommend something like Sigurd's Scythe. Now, the attack increase not great, but with attacking, if your health is 50% or less, you absorb a lot of the damage as health, and because you're still, hitting quite a bit, your S1 hits twice, right? Your S3 hits for quite a bit of damage, and you're critting, you're going to be healing up quite a bit too. Kind of like how Ravi heals up quite a bit whenever she attacks with her S3, or even with her S1, right? Not too shabby for keeping her alive and just kind of top topped off. So if you don't have Sigurd's Scythe, then you might have a copy of Golden Rose laying around, then you can definitely use a copy of Golden Rose here. Let's see if I can find mine. Golden Rose also allows you to increase your damage that's dealt, right? As long as your health is 50% or more, you increase damage dealt. 50% or less, you recover some damage that's dealt as health. So you have some options available to you. You can also go into battle using something like Prayer of Solitude. Prayer of Solitude increases your health, your max health, right? I don't know if this actually does anything for your effect res at the start of the battle. I don't know if this actually interacts with it, but when you attack, you increase your damage dealt, and because she has an extra attack with that S1, you can increase that damage by additional 7%. That's actually really nice. But yeah, those are just some options that are available. Obviously, if you want to use Sweet Miracle, which also increases your health, but also makes it so that she can decrease debuff durations. I don't know. Against certain situations, it might be useful. She's going to have so much effect res in most cases that it doesn't matter, but just in case, throwing it out there that she does have access to one of the most dumbest, most broken artifacts in the entire game, it's not bad. But yeah, other than that, Durandal for turn cycling, you can always use that as well. It's not bad. I have a plus 31 I can show here, right? Every time you're attacked, increases your combat readiness, and if you're below a certain threshold, increases it again. So with her S1 and with this Durandal turn cycling, you can actually turn cycle very quickly to get that S3 back up, and it can deal quite a bit of damage. Think about things like Draco Plate as well. You can increase your crit damage if you're trying to get that stat up, but at the same time, you reduce the amount of damage that you suffer whenever you get hit by a crit too. So yeah, warriors have such a good variety of artifacts they can use. If I missed anything, please let me know in the comments down below, because might give other people some ideas when they're building their Arias too. With that being said though, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Take care.